Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Switch gears, and I want to talk about a program that, we actually just talked about on Monday's Aaron Torres pod. It's the Florida Gators, okay? And so Florida is a fascinating team right now. Year 2 under Billy Napier. Things on the field are just not going very well. They lose on Saturday to LSU, embarrassing fashion, 700 yards of total offense for the LSU Tigers. And it's just a crushing loss at a moment in time that Billy Napier cannot afford a crushing loss. Because with that loss, which of course followed the Arkansas loss, first time ever that Arkansas won in the Swamp, Florida fell to 5-5 overall, which means that they need to win one of their final 2 games just to get bowl eligible in year 2 under Billy Napier. Problem, of course, it is that their last 2 games are against top 10 teams, Missouri at home, or Missouri on the road, and then Florida State at home to close the regular season. That's not why I'm talking about this, though. Things are not going well on the field, but the one thing that Billy Napier has had in his back pocket, the silver lining in this all, is that Billy Napier is in the process of putting together an elite recruiting class, okay? As of just a few days ago, it was ranked number 3 in the country, and this was the thing that Billy Napier could sell to his fan base. Things aren't going very well. We're losing games we should never lose, but everybody, just stay patient. To quote Aaron Rodgers, RELAX, relax. Everything's going to be okay. Just give us time. We are going to get in an elite recruiting class next year, and we are going to be good to go. So why am I talking about Billy Napier in Florida today? And why did I say that he just got the worst possible news at the worst possible time? Well, it's because if you follow recruiting, that top 5 recruiting class is slowly starting to crumble all around us. This was supposed to be me like crumbling a cookie. That's Florida's recruiting class right now, okay? So the news on Wednesday that is worth noting why we're doing this video is that Napier Johnson, top 100 prospect, defensive tackle from Georgia, one of those big guys up front that everybody wants, that you build championship caliber teams with, had been committed to Florida since the spring. And on Wednesday afternoon, he announced that not only is he decommitting from Florida, but that he's flipping and going to the home state, Georgia Bulldogs. So that is just crushing news for Florida, the worst possible news at the worst possible time. But here's the thing. Napier Johnson is actually the 3rd different marquee high-profile player that has decommitted from Florida in recent days. On Saturday, and we actually did talk about this a little bit on Monday's Aaron Torres pod, on Saturday, just hours before Florida actually took the field at LSU, Jamonte Waller, who was one of the top recruits in that class. Napier Johnson was really good. Jamonte Waller was potentially elite. From Picayune, Mississippi, been committed to Florida since the summer. I briefly remember even talking about it when he committed. Well, Jamonte Waller, he decommitted, and he announced that he's going to Auburn. Top 100 prospect, edge player, really talented player. I have no doubt that Hugh Freeze and his staff are excited. And then on Monday, you think it can't get worse. Wardell Mack, athlete that's probably projected to play corner, a 4-star. He decommits, and he goes to Texas. And so you see why I'm doing this video. You see why I'm talking about this. It is because at a moment in time when Billy Napier cannot get bad news, especially on the recruiting trail, he is continuing to get one piece of news after another. And here's the scary part. You follow the tea leaves, there may be more decommitments coming. Now, I know what everybody will say. Torres, don't overreact. Even with these 3 decommitments, Florida still has a top 5 recruiting class in the country. And I will readily admit that if Florida is able to keep the other 19 guys in this class committed, it is still a win for Florida because you're going to have around a top 5 recruiting class. Now, maybe somebody jumps you, but you have some real difference makers in this class. And if this is where it ends, then I think that is a great, great, great final couple weeks for Billy Napier. But the bottom line is, I can't even express how important it is for him to keep this class together, because on the field, he is not really giving Florida fans much reason for excitement. And this is what we talked about on Monday's show. It's not just that Florida loses. They seem to lose in embarrassing fashion every time they lose. A few weeks ago, it was Kentucky. Ray Davis, 280 yards of rushing offense at Kentucky. I think Kentucky, where they throw the ball like 9 times in that game. Remember what you just saw Michigan, Penn State last weekend? Kentucky did the same thing to Florida like 6 weeks ago. Ray Davis went from nobody knows much about him to a household name because of what he did to Florida. Then you bounce back, you start playing better, whatever. Get destroyed by Georgia. Okay, it's Georgia. But then the last 2 weeks have been a debacle. We just talked about it. You lose to Arkansas at home. Arkansas's first ever win in the Swamp. And listen, I like Sam Pittman. I'm rooting for him. I don't know how much longer he's got at Arkansas. That's just a game that you can't lose as Florida's head coach. And I know it's whatever. But Arkansas is 3-7 right now. It's their only SEC win. And I think even at the time you could sit there and say, well, they just fired their offensive coordinator. Maybe they just figured things out. No, they then proceeded to get destroyed by Auburn at home a week later. So the idea that it was somehow an outlier event, no, Arkansas has been terrible against everybody except Florida. And then, as I said on Saturday, LSU. I know LSU's offense is elite, but 700 yards of total offense. Jaden McDaniels, I think, plays in the NBA. Jaden Daniels, what was it? 350 yards passing. I think it was 14 yards per completion, 9 yards per carry for Jaden McDaniels. Like, what are we even talking about? Jaden Daniels. I keep saying McDaniels. Daniels. What are we even talking about here? So you lose a lot in embarrassing fashion. I think you're losing games that a Florida coach should never lose. You should never lose to Arkansas at home, okay? If you're going to lose to Kentucky, because Dan Mullen lost to Kentucky, it's no disrespect to the Wildcats. You can't get punked at the line of scrimmage like they did this year. And now the LSU game is a debacle. And here's the crazy part. So Billy Napier, you would argue Florida's 4 biggest rivals. What are they? Florida State, Georgia, Tennessee, and LSU. As of right now, those are Florida's 4 biggest rivals. We'll see if all of them stay on the schedule with the SEC schedule changing. I bring it up. Billy Napier, he still's got 1 game left, but he's played 7 games against his biggest rivals. He is now 1-6 in those games. So he's not beating his rivals. He's losing games that Florida coach should never lose. And that is why this recruiting class is so important. As important as it is, try to get bowl eligible. That's what you want. What's much more important is keeping this class together so you can sell something for the future. My concern is I don't even know if he's going to be able to do that. I'm not a recruiting expert, but first of all, you lose 3 guys in a week. What is clear to me, the vultures are circling these guys. The vultures are saying, do you want to commit your career to this guy? It is a sinking ship. I remember doing a video just like this at this time last year because Jimbo Fisher started losing recruits. Jimbo Fisher lost Anthony Hill, 5-star to Texas. Jimbo Fisher started losing recruits 3 or 4 weeks ago. A bunch of guys, they had 3 or 4 guys decommit in like a 2-week period. That is concerning if you're Florida, but here's the scarier part. A bunch of your elite recruits that are still on board are trending other directions. Again, not a recruiting expert, but I follow the tea leaves. There's a kid named Amaris Williams. Not sure if you're familiar with his work. 4-star from North Carolina, top 50 player nationally. You go to his 24/7 sports page. I have never seen this before. He is committed to Florida, but his crystal ball predictions say that he's going to Ohio State. Multiple people in the last couple of days have put in projections that he is going to flip from Florida to Ohio State. Then there's a safety, Xavier Filisimi. He is from the state of Texas. He is trending towards Texas. Just took an official visit. Now, there are no crystal balls for him, but he just took an official visit a few weeks ago. And so I'm not rooting against Billy Napier. I grew up in the late 90s. Like, Florida was the ish. They were the program. And then obviously I was young and up and coming and kind of in the college age time when Urban Meyer got it rolling. I love when Florida's good. So I'm not rooting against Florida, but like, what are we doing here? And so if you're Billy Napier, I think this is a critical crossroads moment for this program. You have to, I'm not going to keep going around in circles. You get the point. You have to keep this recruiting class together. Good news, if there is any, The top 2 recruits I think are solid. DJ Lagway, the quarterback, been committed, hasn't taken any other visits. You think he's good. LJ McCray, some believe, is the top defensive lineman in high school football. He committed like 2 weeks ago. So you would think he wouldn't have waited that long to commit if he wasn't 100% solid on Florida. So listen, I'm not rooting against anybody, but you've lost 3 really difference-making players, and there are 2 more that are trending in the wrong direction. Billy Napier, you got to figure it out. I think as important as trying to win one of these next 2 is to get bowl eligible, I think you got to win one of the next 2 just to show some momentum. And then you better spend all of December flying across the country, camping out, doing whatever you got to do to make sure to hold this class together, or Billy Napier in Florida is in deep trouble. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, click that little subscribe button. We're talking college football, college basketball, on and on. Also, new episodes of the Aaron Torres Pod every Monday, Wednesday, and yes, Friday as well.